Hello and welcome to our podcast from the Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi. My name is Emma De Freitas and I am the Movement Disorder Coordinator here in our Movement Disorder Clinic. Today I am joined by our guest, Mr. Ashis Mishra, who is a patient who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 13 years ago and has graciously joined us to share his journey. I'm also joined by Dr. Shivam Mittal, who is our consultant movement disorder specialist here in Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Ashis. Would you mind starting us on your journey with Parkinson's disease?
Thank you, ma'am, for having me here. It was when I was around 42, 13 years ago, almost 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with YOPD. It has been challenging. The first few more years were very challenging. I was hiding it from others, so I was getting more anxiety. Then slowly I started coping with it and started accepting the disease. That's it. I'm here today after the DBS, which I did at Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi, 2 years ago.
Dr. Shivam, would you like to add anything about the journey so far?
So, Mr. Ashis is a very special patient. I don't consider him as a patient. I consider him as a friend. And we have gone through together through this journey of his Parkinson's disease in the past couple of years. I initially saw him in 2020. And that time we talked about his symptoms, his concerns, how he was tackling the anxiety symptoms, how was he managing the walking difficulties and the fear of falling that he was having at that time. And we also went through how we can titrate the medications, go from one medication to other medications, and eventually to work on improving his quality of life. And it has been a very rewarding journey because I feel Mr. Ashis is doing excellent presently with deep brain stimulation surgery, which he underwent 2 years ago at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi. He has done remarkably well. And I'm so glad that he is here to share his story with us.
So, Mr. Ashis, would you like to start the journey with us? So when did you first feel that something was wrong?
Around 20 years back that I felt this feeling of being pushed from backside. Then I became slow. Quite often I would become slow and don't understand why I would become slow. I went to many doctors in India, but they would just brush me aside saying you have a vitamin D deficiency or vitamin B12 deficiency. So nobody could diagnose it. One day when I went here in one local clinic, when I went to a GP, he identified. He said, I think you have Parkinsonism. Why don't you go and see a neuro? So I went to a neuro and saw it. And he prescribed some medicines. I started taking a particular type of medicine where the doses increased gradually. Symptoms were under well control, but slowly I developed some symptoms of compulsive disorders. I started spending more money on online shopping. I started spending more money on unnecessary things. That is when I came to see Dr. Shivam Mittal in 2020 to Abu Dhabi, Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi. Then we started with some medication. We kept changing the medication till I reached a level where I can come out of those compulsive disorders. Dr. Shivam suggested that I consider DBS as an option, as a therapeutic option. Thereafter, we had a discussion in the family. My children and my wife, we discussed about the nuances of the surgery, and then finally I decided I took a firm decision as to go ahead with it, and we did it in 2 years back in 2022, and that has changed my life forever. It's a sea change in my life. My quality of life has improved a lot.
Very good. And your quality of life before you went for the surgery, so that people can understand the impact on the day-to-day basis for somebody who is diagnosed with Parkinson's or who may have Parkinson's symptoms. Did it affect your work or,
Every day is different for a Parkinson patient. One day could be better, one day could be worse. I could get very worse symptoms on a day. Suppose if I have an egg which has protein, I could get very bad symptoms, and then it might just even stop me from walking. I have over the years I have devised changed my lifestyle and devised a pattern as to eat food habits and all that to help me control the symptoms.
Very good. And Dr. Shivam, would you recommend any other? Obviously, some people don't like to take medicines, and that is the mainstay. But there's other ways of keeping yourself healthy when you suffer with Parkinson's disease.
Yes, I would like to second what Mr. Ashis just mentioned, that Parkinson's disease is not just one particular medicine or one particular treatment. It is more of a holistic approach. You have to look at this condition. This is a disease, a condition which is progressive in nature. And we don't have a cure yet, but we have a very effective treatment. We have medications, we have advanced treatment options like the deep brain stimulation surgery, infusion pump therapies, and many more injections and other treatments. And not everybody is a candidate for all of these options. The treatment for Parkinson's is individualized, it's tailored. We have to have a multidisciplinary approach. I usually work in a team where we have a nurse like yourself, we have a physical therapist, speech therapist, occupational therapist, excellent functional neurosurgeon, gastroenterologist, urologist, psychiatrist, psychologist. And with help of our team approach, we can identify what symptoms are bothering the patient. And based on that, we have to titrate the medications and titrate the dosing of the treatment. Most important treatment for Parkinson's, a person with Parkinson's, is actually exercise. And lifestyle changes are very important. Exercise actually helps to slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease. When the symptoms are not under manageable control with exercise or it's affecting the quality of life, we start the medications. As Mr. Ashis mentioned, that there were some medications which were causing compulsive symptoms. He was shopping too much. He was spending unnecessary money. And he also had sleep symptoms. He was sleepy during the daytime with the medication. That is a certain side effect of the medication. And he was previously not aware that this medication causes this side effect. So he thought this is something unrelated to Parkinson's disease. But when we met, we talked about the side effects of the medication he is on, and he had all the side effects. Then we realized the medication needs to be changed, and we moved to the other medications, and he did very well. And we passed maybe 2 years time with the change in medication, and he was living an active life and able to go back to his work and without any side effects. But at certain times, when the medication is not effective enough, when the duration of medicine is shorter and you have to take multiple times the medication or you're experiencing side effects, I discussed with Mr. Ashis about the advanced treatment options. And and I told him, Mr. Ashis, we have these many options. What would you like to do? And then we discussed in our meeting, and he decided to go for the deep brain stimulation surgery. Many patients cannot get DBS surgery. In that scenario, we have other options like injections and pump therapies as well. And the patients do very well with that treatment as well. So it is very important that you need to see a neurologist who is a movement disorder specialist or someone who is trained to see Parkinson's disease patients, and they can provide a comprehensive care with all the options available.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Ashis, that was part of the journey for you, how you ended up with Dr. Shivam. You had seen a few people who may not have had the expertise and, I suppose, the multidisciplinary team to be able to support you on your journey.
What is important is consulting the doctor and confiding in the doctor. And the doctor should also be counseling you as to what is the side effect of the medicine. Otherwise, you end up in a sorry state where you cannot do anything.
Yeah, powerless almost. It's a very hard journey.
I would like to ask a question to Mr. Ashish. Before surgery and after surgery, what changes do you see so that people who are watching this will come to know what is the impact of the surgery?
First thing that I have noticed is my anxiety has fully disappeared. My medicines have reduced by half. At one time, I was having 800 mg levodopa equivalent. That has come down to 300 to 400 mg. I have become steady. My balance has come back. My strength has come back. There is no falling anymore. And some certain other benefits also I find. I can meet friends and see them eye to eye, which I was unable to do before. So these are the benefits I have. And it's a life-changing surgery. I must say.
So it was very isolating for you with your symptoms before you had the DBS
correct,
surgery. So
correct.
it gave you the confidence to be able to go back out into the community. Very good. That's very good. Dr. Shivam, in terms of, obviously you said DBS surgery is one option, but for the people that don't have other options, we want to make sure that they know that we have the other options like the pump therapy. So would you like to talk a little bit more about those with us?
Sure. I usually tell my patients that Parkinson's disease is like a car, and that as a car has an engine, and the engine has a fuel which is running inside it. Now, in a human body, there's an engine in the brain, and you need the fuel. The fuel is the dopamine, the levodopa, and we can give by medications or by doing electrical stimulation by DBS surgery. But there are certain other ways we can give the dopamine medication to the body in a throughout the day pattern. And these are some newer therapies, which are infusion pump therapies, which are now available as well, where you can give the levodopa, the main gold standard medication, in a continuous form. This again requires individualized approach, comprehensive look at the patient, look at the symptoms that are experiencing. Not everyone is a candidate for these advanced therapies. So we have to look at a team approach and see which is best for the patient.
Very good, absolutely. It has to be patient-centered care. So, Mr. Ashis, as you're on your journey, and this podcast is to make people aware of Parkinson's disease and what they should do, what advice would you give to our listeners and our audience?
I would suggest if you're in an age group, say 50 plus, and you have got YOPD and you are suffering from symptoms which are uncontrollable, you are facing difficulties on day-to-day life, your quality of life is impaired, then I would suggest you would take a conscious decision, take a informed decision as to go for DBS surgery. And it would certainly help you, though it's a personal decision always, whether to go for it or not, but it has helped me a lot. It has in fact changed my life. I would suggest everyone who's watching this podcast to go ahead with DBS surgery if they have the options.
They have the options. Very good.
But one thing is there, then you have to keep your expectations from the DBS surgery realistic. Otherwise, you might say that DBS surgery has not worked. But it's not the DBS surgery which has not worked. Your expectations are more.
This is very well said.
Yes.
I completely second Mr. Ashis that we have to set real expectations, that we know that there is no cure for Parkinson's. And deep brain stimulation is a therapy, is an advanced treatment where you're controlling the symptoms with electrical stimulation. Now, with time, as Parkinson's progresses, we have a way to increase the stimulation and control the symptoms. And that is something, a realistic expectations has to come from the person who is getting the surgery and from the family members. And as a part of the evaluation for surgery, we do this in our clinic. We first see if the person is a candidate or not. If they're candidate, we sit with them face to face, go through the ins and outs of the surgery, talk about the possible realistic expectations and what are the potential things that will not get better with deep brain stimulation surgery. And after this is done, then we go ahead with the surgery.
And doctor, it's only people who are levodopa responsive can have this surgery, right?
So that's a very good question. So Mr. Ashis is asking about the levodopa responsive. Now, that is one part is true, but some people who have a lot of shaking in the hand, a lot of tremor, and the tremor does not respond to the dopamine medications. In that scenario, we should also do deep brain stimulation surgery. So anybody whose symptoms respond to dopamine medication, but the effect is lasting only for, say, few hours, and the person has to take the medication 4 or 5 times or more than that, then DBS is considered. And if someone who has too much of shaking or too much of tremor and the medication is not working at all, in that scenario, DBS surgery is ideal treatment.
Dr. Shivam, and I'm going to ask Ashish as well. So you're a young man. I think you're a young man. People are watching and they're saying, oh, DBS is only for younger people diagnosed. So YOPD, young onset Parkinson's disease. So for the older generation and maybe carers of these Parkinson's disease patients, is DBS an option if you're older than Mr. Ashish, you're in your late 60s, maybe going to 70? How do you decide Do you have an age limit for your DBS patients?
So we prefer the deep brain stimulation surgery for younger people with Parkinson's disease, as you mentioned, YOPD, which is young onset Parkinson's disease patients. But there is no clear cutoff for age. Usually after age 75, we are not very we do not offer surgery easily, or I would say that surgery is not the best option after your age 75. The reason is the surgical risks are higher. But we always do a comprehensive neuropsychological evaluation before anybody goes for the DBS surgery, and that is one of the very important prerequisite. Some people may have concerning findings for the memory loss, or they are having dementia, and in that scenario we would not consider DBS surgery. And in that scenario we would consider optimizing of the tablets or the medications, or consider pump therapies or infusion therapies.
Okay. I have another question for Mr. Ashish, actually. Mr. Ashish, you know, some patients come to us and they say it's too early to start medication. I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to wait and see how I get on and hold out. What would you advise these patients who are saying, should I take the medicine, shouldn't I? I'm still young.
I would say start the medicine as early as possible. The best medicine, as Dr. Shivam said, is exercise and yoga. So if that doesn't help, then start the medicine as soon as possible. That keeps you in control. I can tell you about, from my experience, my wife and my family will second it. My condition in 2010 was much worse than what it is today. I was having more symptoms in 2010, some 14 years back, than I have it today.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
So we are so happy to see you like this, Mr. Ashish. Like 14 years after you were diagnosed with Parkinson's, and you're a busy father and a busy husband, and have a good work-life balance. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
And I agree that exercise, yoga, Tai Chi, they have good evidence for Parkinson's disease. If you look at the studies, they have shown good evidence to improve the quality of life and actually slow down the Parkinson's disease. So it's very important to stay physically active, and also with the medications, and make sure you have a good partnership with the doctor. I think that's very important. You need to make sure that you are in touch with your doctor. And thankfully at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, we have a good team of specialists for Parkinson's disease, and we have a health portal application, and patients are able to send direct message and can be in touch with us, and my nurse or the coordinator can have a look at it. So this is an excellent opportunity for patients to partner with the doctors.
It's a partnership
Correct.
journey, really.
It has to be a partnership with the doctor.
Very good.
The doctor should know you in and out so that he can treat you well.
I think so. I think in the clinic we see what a family the patients become to Dr. Shivam and to the staff in the clinic, because you're coming so often to the clinic. You build up a nice relationship with the families. Correct. Which is really very important.
I think that's an important message, that Parkinson's patient is not alone.
Exactly.
We are all with you.
That concludes our podcast for today. I'd like to thank Dr. Shivam Mittal and Mr. Ashish for coming to join us and bravely share his story with us. If you have a carer, a loved one, a family member, it could be a work colleague that is suffering or has symptoms that you heard today, please share our podcast with them. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to doing more podcasts in the future. Thank you.